Rings of Power Episode 7, a carry-on comedy. We've got Elrond getting with Galadriel. That'll be awkward when he marries her daughter later. Talk about an upgrade. I don't know why we needed the heroic music. I've got to... And it's only made worse when in the same episode he cheats on Galadriel.
The dwarves are coming! Durin will come. Durin will come. Durin will come. Durin will come.
Celebrimbor turns into a Lord of the Sith when he finds out he's making rings for Sauron, and then just continues to make the rings for Sauron.
Heart and all of Middle-earth.
At that point, he even knows that the rings are made with Sauron's blood. Maybe that's why whenever he steps out of the tower, he just immediately gets hit in the face with a rock. It's like Iluvatar's taking the piss. Well, if you're gonna be evil, take that. And let's face it, what Tolkienian fantasy epic would be complete without the people that making it getting Sauron, Satan himself, and going menacing in the front, dainty in the back. Ah, isn't he evil? But he does have a little bow. Isn't it cute? That's why Galadriel can bang him. It's because he's got a little bow. That makes up for all the evil. Amazon Luna even joined in with very demure, very cutesy. Seriously, no wonder he's banging Celebrimbor. Although in an interesting twist, Fellowship of fans who actually liked most of this series are not happy with the kiss between Elrond and Galadriel. There is absolutely no reason for it to happen. The entire scenario was made up in the first place, so they created this dilemma themselves. And rather than talking about an incredible battle, honestly, I expected much more of the battle. This will muddy the conversation. Because the problem is that he ends up marrying her daughter, and I'm thinking, yeah, but that's probably the point. If they have her daughter in this series, you know what the story's gonna be. Well, I had to have her because I couldn't have you. It's literally just to empower Galadriel and put her on a pedestal. If I can't have you, I'll have to settle for second best. You were so amazing, and that was the only choice open to me was your offspring. I do find it funny when they're like, well, it will be weird. Not for elves, who are immortal. Can you imagine being one of the early elves and you could just never get with anyone because people have a problem with the age gap? She's only 500 years old. She's way too young for you. Besides, before Galadriel can have a daughter, she's gonna have to develop a nice personality first. But we start in Eregion. Celebrimbor's all happy, scooping Mithril out with a spoon. Good job he decided to do that rather than just pick it up with his fingers, which is what I would have done for metal. Oh, I'm using a little dainty teaspoon. I'll be here all day. He's forging rings, though, and for that he makes a little ingot. Hammers it a bit before slicing it in half. And then just bends it round into a ring. I mean, these are really fancy, as you can tell. I have made metal into a ring. I've got to be honest, there's all this talk about how all the rings of power were made to Sauron's recipe. And then you actually see them made. It's like, I could do that, though. Got to be honest, it doesn't seem like the rings or the magic have anything to do with Celebrimbor. He's lined the rings up, though, so you can count. That's the 9th one. Just in case you're unable to count, they also give you a subtle clue.
9.
Thanks for that, mate. This isn't the only time they do that, and I'm grateful for it, because I'm a retard.
9.
I don't know why I had to sigh afterwards. Oh, that counting was tough. Ooh, I'm glad that's over.
For mortal men.
He notices, though, his hammer doesn't have a jewel in it. I don't know why I had to turn it over to see if there was one on the other side. That's not how missing jewels work. Oh, I only lose things symmetrically. As he goes looking for the jewel, though, he notices a mouse. Oh, look! It did a thing!
Oh, Mr. Mouse.
Hello, Mr. Mouse. This is supposed to be the lead jeweler. He's got a mice-infested tower, and the elves, king of civilization, are just like, yeah, we just like the rats running all over the place. This is like London. They pay so much to live there and appreciate its majesty, and everyone else just thinks it's a pile of His problem is, in the mirror, he sees a true self. I've been grinding League of Legends for weeks. Yet, as Sauron appears, suddenly he's fine again.
Come. Floor is hardly the place for the greatest of Elven Smith.
Normally you're happy with him on his knees, like you said.
Come.
Also, as he looks at the hammer, suddenly it's fixed again. Sauron starts gaslighting him. You know how you could be forgetful or overwhelmed. Sauron reassures him, no, I've had such clarity. Focus on the work that I've not had in years. Don't you understand? I hammered a piece of metal and then bent it round into a ring. This is one of the reasons that it works in novels, because you could just describe a ring and people's minds make their preferred thing. When you see it made, and it's just a guy making an ordinary ring, it doesn't have the same power. But Celebrimbor is almost praising Sauron, yet he doesn't know it. But when the world is still, that allows me to focus like I never have before.
The rings of power are nearly complete.
I mean, at the moment, they're just rings, which I'm assuming is what gives them the power. He just wants to fancy them up with some random jewels that serve no purpose. They are just a few days away from completion. And then Sauron gets all sentimental.
It will be a sad occasion. I have so enjoyed our time together.
I bet you have, especially when he was on his knees.
Come.
Because Sauron seems to genuinely mean this. It's weird.
Oh, all things must end.
Come. A pity.
I'm gonna miss you, Celebrimbor. You had such talents.
Is it not?
Do you want to get back on your knees, Celebrimbor? Of course, outside, it's a different story. I don't actually know what would happen if a rock hit him in the face. I would have just done it for comedy value, because the entire city is burning. And not just a little bit. Now, the weird thing for this episode is time. It literally seems that this is only a couple of hours after they started launching the fire the first time. This entire episode seems to take place in a day and a half. The siege takes place in a day and a half. Because, like, all the women are still, like, running around the city, so it can only have been a very short amount of time after the start of the fight. Otherwise, they would have got to whatever place they have in case of this. People aren't going to be running around the city. So you might be talking less than an hour at this point. So all the soldiers and the jeweler, who I'm still not sure why she's here.
What orders from Lord Celebrimbor?
Why would he come down to give orders to my jeweler? If anything, go off and smith some armor for these people that are about to do some work. What are you gonna do? Stand around and look short?
Celebrimbor refuses to permit a counterattack. He says the river will protect us.
Now, to be fair, it does. It's actually a good plan. Especially as if you're a city with fortifications, you don't ride out of those fortifications to engage them on the other side of a river. The entire point of a city is that they have to come to you. But for some reason, this is pitched as a really bad plan.
Every moment we remain idle, more elves die. We must do something.
What do you want them to do? Ride across the bridges. You know those bridges. The one which go over the river, which are designed to funnel the enemy into you. Or you could do it the other way around, where they funnel you into the enemy. You're supposed to be an immortal elf. How are you this stupid? Why is my jeweler in a military conversation?
And that is why we are not going to obey him.
So Celebrimbor's orders are to stay within the fortifications because they're fortifications. And your idea is to not. Although I've already seen this episode, they actually do stay within the fortifications, so I'm very confused.
Gather your finest troops. I am taking command of our defenses.
So somehow they just let him, this random guy who the only thing he's done is be a jeweler. And for some reason, the captain of the guard isn't in control of the defense of the city. He's letting a jeweler take over because he's also been listening to another jeweler in the meantime.
What is it?
It makes absolutely no sense how Sauron takes over the city, by the way. You'll be thinking there's more explanation. No, that was him taking over the city in a sentence. He said, stay behind the river. This is insane. I'm in charge now.
What are you not telling them?
If I didn't tell the guard, love, why do you think I'd tell my baker? He tells, though, that Celebrimbor's mind is gone, and that's why he needs to take charge. Nobody goes to check this.
We are alone.
Not alone.
Don't worry, Sauron, they're not at the walls yet. You've still got time to bend me over the rubble if you want. Or we can do it the other way around and I can tug on that bow in your hair. I ship 'em. My last shipping tweet got 2.6 million views. I think I'm officially part of the community. I've never been more proud. Get yourself a demonic worshipper who looks at you like that. Oh, she's so evil, but she's so small. It just means you're really concentrated evil.
You have proven your quality, Mirdania.
Look at her hair, we're twinsies. Curtain doesn't match the drapes though, does it?
When the time comes, I will see to it that you are duly rewarded.
You have no quality, love. You let him into the city and then dived on your back. There's more quality out on the streets than a Saturday night in Leeds. I do like how Sauron judges people, though. It's like, can I bend you over a table? No? Oh, you're actually a decent person. Congratulations. Finally, I found somebody who isn't evil. But at that moment, the siege engines stop. They go to join the slack-jawed... I think they're meant to be soldiers. Instead, though, they're turning the siege engines. You know they're turning them because... we see them turning them, and also...
turning them away from the city.
Thanks for that, mate. I couldn't have grasped that on my own when I saw them turning them away from the city. We're not even finished. We get a close-up of the mountain.
Celebrimbor was more mistaken than we knew. Prepare for ground assault.
Wait, we're gonna blame Celebrimbor for this? It's not Celebrimbor's fault. That's the fault whoever picked this place to use a river as a defense then could get damned by the mountain next to it. This was a failure of design and no one went, hang on, what about that though? You know, the big mountain that nobody's seen. We see them fire rocks at the mountain and delivered to us in an incredibly subtle manner.
They're damming the river.
Thanks for that, love. I'm so glad you told me. I couldn't have put that together on my own when you showed me what was happening. Why did you tell then show me? You've already shown me what they're doing. You don't need to go, oh, let's explain it to them.
Prepare for ground assault!
To be fair, I thought he was going to go, they're damming the river. These guards, though, need to prepare for a ground assault, and they do that by running away from the wall. Brave men here. At that moment, Arundel arrives, but don't worry, he's not going to do anything. No, seriously. They gave him one episode where he made sense, and then he's not been in the rest of the season. I'm here! Bet you forgot about me. Now forget about me again. He sees that the river is drying up. Back with Celebrimbor, and he's making the rings all pretty rather than just metal bands. If you notice, this ring now seems to be made of an entirely different band. He turns around though, sees the mouse doing the same thing, and decides to draw a line on his candle, because I guess when you don't have clocks, you have to resort to desperate measures. Maybe if he designed a clock rather than an umbrella that got him wet, this would be easier. Over at Khazad-dûm, where they have 2 dwarves guarding the entrance. That's a step up from season 1, where I can't remember them having any. King is being told that Eregion is under attack, and he's like, no, I'm not gonna go and defend him. Don't you understand? They're more desperate than ever.
They are more desperate than we thought. I need the mine.
Yes, I need you to dig. Every hour we're not digging, we're losing fortunes. I'm like, they're 3 days away. How have you even heard about this? They've only been launching missiles for a couple of hours. How did you get a magic letter about it? It's gonna be more days at least to get that, surely. Time means nothing here. By the time another 3 days passes to get the mithril there, they'll be dead.
That we delay costs us unthinkable wealth.
So as the king chooses wealth over his own family, it makes this guy doubt himself, and doesn't really seem like our king, does it? That's why he turns up to Disa.
Slow to learn, are you? Easy, lads.
I mean, I don't understand how they think they're gonna stop him, but also, they don't want to fight in the first place.
Turn around.
Ah, look! Aren't I really intimidating? I'm showing my leg with an axe. They're literally going to fight just the 2 of them against all the dwarves, but luckily the other guy's like, no, he's not our king, he's not our king. We're with you.
We stand with you. Down your axes!
If you were going to surrender, I don't know why you raised your hammer at him, intimidating him for. Coincidentally, though, there's another elf outside that wants to speak to him. Except this elf has been banned from all dwarven lands. He was going to go to fight, but he's come back so that Jorin can have him one last time. Oh! So romantic.
Elrond.
My heart sings to see you, old friend.
I bet it does.
You tidal-haired, flowery-tongued flagpole.
No wonder you brought up his flagpole. I mean, he's basically gripping it right there. Elrond tells him, though, that Eregion is under assault, and I can't defeat him with just my army. I need yours. If only High King Gilgadaddy hadn't listened to a woman, he'd still have his army and could have gone down to save Eregion. Unfortunately, he decided to take military advice from his chef for absolutely no reason whatsoever, and she's basically lost the rings of power and destroyed a city. Well done, love. No wonder we only saw her in that scene. She's a complete idiot.
I know I asked too much of you, Durin, but I need your axe, old friend.
No, not that one, Jorin.
Ride you to victory.
We can do that later. I mean your actual axe. Also, he said the thing.
I need it now.
Ooh, I can't wait. Been a long road to get here. Whoa.
It's hard.
I'm hard as you.
Then we flip over to the orcs that are just like playing musical instruments for no reason whatsoever. He's like a baby that's just found out it can smack its own face. We see the orc hordes that are just here for peace and to buy ice cream, marching on Eregion. And they do actually have a decent amount of extras for this, as well as CGI people. Now, you'll remember in the movies where the elven armies turned up, immortals that had been trained in battle for centuries. An entirely different class of soldier compared to this mess, where they just look like random soldiers who have no real idea what they're doing. And that guy has absolutely no screen presence whatsoever as a leader. That guy can't even be bothered to pick a target. Everything else was deliberate and fluid, and they're just like, The elves in Rings of Power are altogether very unimpressive people. Well, you see all the arrows missing them, and you're like, I don't really want them to miss, though. I want them to be peak superhuman beings, especially if they don't have that many arrows in their quiver, and no one seems to be bringing them more. Now, there are military leaders and soldiers on the walls, all with their superpowered elf eyesight, but luckily, somebody else is there to save them from their own ineptitude. It's the baker, everybody! Look, I've got some donuts for you! And I've spotted a siege weapon. Now, come on, pretty big. And I know she's used to seeing big things in her life, but everybody else should be able to see the massive siege weapon slowly being dragged across the battlefield. I mean, look at it. They've put skulls on it because these are just nice people that want to live in peace with their families in their own homeland.
The badges on our caps, they've got skulls on them. Are we the baddies?
But luckily, the baker is here to give some military advice to the soldiers.
Captain, they have a ravager.
Do you mean Sauron, or has he just been ravaging you?
Was Sauron ravaged? Just a good bloke. Yeah.
It's hard to tell nowadays. So this guy walks around a pillar and he's like, we must take it down. I can't believe I never saw the siege weapon before. Back with Celebrimbor though, he's realised something's wrong.
Wait for what?
I'm thinking. It's the rat doing the same thing it always has. And he realises this is all looped. The same events keep happening all the time. It's like time is paused.
And there is more.
Sauron isn't a happy chappy.
The embers. Celebrimbor, what have...
That one is a bit stupid. He's like, look, there's embers in my fire. It's like, yeah, there tends to be embers in fire. His better point is that this candle hasn't burnt down a single inch in hours. And Sauron comes clean. You sought peace, I gave it to you. I created this image around you, this world, so you could focus. You were thanking me for it earlier.
Whatever this is hardly a gift.
You've never complained when I did it before in the bedroom, Celebrimbor. Or did you think you'd built a secret dungeon into your forge? And Sauron's kind of telling him the truth. You begged for my instruction. You needed this. You asked me for it.
Listen to yourself.
No, what have you done to me?
No need to get emotional now, Grandma. But as he realizes no emissary of the Velar would do this, he asks him who he is and he gives the whole, I'm the one keeping the storm at bay. I'm the only thing protecting the city. But the fact that he's the one destroying the city. I just don't know why.
I want the 9! No!
It was a pretty good throw for a granny, but unfortunately it breaks his windows and it allows him to hear the battle outside. Apparently, stained glass windows, incredibly soundproof. He can't make an umbrella that'll keep you dry, but his windows are top-notch. With that, he goes out and sees the destruction he's caused. We see how he really looks and the absolute state that his forge is in. Funny thing is, though, he was complaining about the fire earlier. It's exactly the same. Turns out those embers were just real. Thing is, though, the rest of his forge is destroyed. There's like pillars collapsed and stuff, and you think, well, you must have realized that, right? Even if he created a mental image where those pillars were upright, there'd still be rubble on the floor, you'd be tripping over invisible objects and stuff. I don't even know why those pillars are collapsed, unless he's been getting hit with rocks and he didn't realize that either. But as he witnesses the destruction that has been caused around him, he finally realizes how Lord of the Rings fans feel. What have you done, Mr. Payne? Sauron, though, somehow looks more evil, despite the fact that he's demure in the front and dainty in the back. And he finds out that his mithril jug was actually full of blood.
What is this?
You already know, mate, don't you, really?
True creation requires sacrifice.
Now, this was at least one explanation that I needed, because he never went to Khazad-dûm twice. So after they refused him mithril, he's like, oh, I realize what I can do. Thing is, if you didn't need the mithril in the first place, I don't know why you didn't do this from the start. This is also obviously their explanation for the ring wraiths, because it was actually made from Sauron. And I don't necessarily have a problem with explaining future things. The issue comes when you just break canon, create an entirely fabricated story, and then use your fabricated story to then explain things which were canon later on. If you stick to the letter of canon the entire way through, at least your reasoning makes sense. But when you break it like this, and do things like make the rings out of order, or just fabricate a load of stuff, then your reasons don't make sense because the thing that led up to it didn't make sense. He finally realizes, though, you are he, are you not?
I have many names.
I don't know why he can't just go, I am Sauron. Gerald? Brimbor. So obviously Celebrimbor leaves his tower, and the same thing happens every time he leaves. It's literally immediate. He takes one step forward, boom. I definitely think Iluvatar's got it out for him. It's like, piss off, you useless tart. To be honest, best thing that's happened to Celebrimbor all series. With that, though, he goes on the walls to see the fighting. And obviously, he seeks the commander of his army so that he can give them orders. Oh, just kidding. No, he's after his baker. Yeah. Medania, I need my jewel. You know how to make horseshoes, don't you? You'll be great in a fight. It's like they watched Pirates of the Caribbean, but genuinely thought that blacksmiths just knew how to use a sword immediately.
We have been deceived, all of us. He planned all of this.
Well, you don't know that. It would be a bit stupid of him to try and make rings in a city and then also have an army march on that same city, which he can't control. That'd be really stupid. Why would you think he's that stupid?
To force me to forge the rings.
No one forced him to make the rings. In fact, at one point, Sauron said we shouldn't make any more rings, and Celebrimbor wanted to.
A prisoner of the mind, but I am out. I am out.
I think you're been out for quite a while, Celebrimbor. Just saying. Despite all this, obviously, his main issue is he talking to Medania.
You have to believe me!
At the same time, the siege weapon hits the wall, and they have to sort of hammer these bolts into the bricks, which then get pulled out of the wall by this machine. Pour some oil over and set fire to it. It's made of wood, and it's by the wall. This is really easy. No one does that. Nor do they drop anything on them, fire anything at them. They just let this machine destroy the wall. They just need murder holes or something, or just lean over. It's stupid.
This is the thinnest part of the wall.
Why do you have a thinnest part of the... Why isn't the wall the same thickness the entire way around? And if you do have a thin part of the wall, get some barrels of oil to pour over the side for siege machines.
We have to brace the foundations!
Or set fire to the wooden device. Get this archer next to you to shoot at the siege machine. His problem is that Sauron has turned up. He tells everyone, seize him, seize him.
He is Sauron.
I mean, do it. Instead, everyone around him is absolutely thick as pig shit. But what did he expect when he went to her? I've been getting rogered by him for weeks. I know I really love getting on my back for evil, but you've got a dirty face. I can't trust you.
Seize him!
He has been lying to you all along.
He has been protecting us.
That's right, Sauron always uses protection. You know, wouldn't want any accidents stopping me going out and partying every weekend.
Been in your tower giving orders that might have been the end of us all.
No.
They've been listening to orders that came from Sauron, and for some reason don't think they're Sauron's. No, they're definitely Celebrimbor's, despite the fact they've never seen Celebrimbor. So the first time they see their commander, they're like, oh, but he's been telling us what you've been saying, despite the fact that you've said he's got you locked up in a tower, and we haven't seen you because you've been in your tower. Everybody here is an idiot.
No, that was him. He is Sauron! If you do not believe me,
And they're about to get worse. Now, firstly, it should be to get a knife and hit that guy in the jugular, because he shouldn't be commanding any army. He's too thick. But so is Celebrimbor's proof. He says if you don't believe me, you can cut him open, and you'll see that he has black blood.
black as pitch!
The issue is Sauron just shows them his hand, and it's red, which Celebrimbor should have expected, because he knows he can make people see things, because he's been making him see things for weeks. So obviously, oh, you've got red blood. Oh, you must be wrong, because you're an idiot, and we're idiots. There is a better thing, though. The best thing. The funniest thing. The best moment of the entire series.
Come, my lord.
Ooh! I don't think you've got the equipment, love.
Get your hands off me! No!
Never gets old. I need to see that again.
Get your hands off me! No!
At least Modania gets what she deserves, eh? Sauron did promise her. Yeah.
Come, my lord.
Now we can have Elrond, Arondir, and Sauron, all as actually good characters that will give people what they deserve. So she dies, and, good. For some reason, this turns the guard against him, despite the fact that they're literally following Sauron.
Finish the 9, and I will spare your city.
He has no reason to believe this is true, and also, it's Sauron. The answer is no, I'm not going to do that. You're Satan. I'm not going to do anything you want. He goes along with it, though, because he's an idiot. At that moment, though, they hear a horn. For some reason, Elrond has decided to just announce his presence on the battlefield. What an idiot. Because he's got his cavalry coming, and they're going to do a cavalry charge. These work best on disorderly enemies that don't know you're there. Or, of course, you could just announce that you're arriving, in which case, everybody can form up in ranks. It looks like a particularly impressive amount of horsemen. There are a lot of orcs, though. Now, you can tell that these are all just loving fathers that want peace and have no intention of attacking anybody who isn't innocent. When they scream like that at the camera, they're definitely the good guys. There's a broad range of nondescript people. So I wonder who's going to be focused on. Well, there's a diverse array of horses. Oh, and people, too. Yeah, there we go. We don't look at anybody else in this elven army. It's just, yep, the woman and the guy that was born before the sun who seemed to know it was coming. Now, with this army, you also have High King Gilgad Daddy. It's a shame he didn't bring all his armies, really, because then they might have actually won. I can't beat Adar and Sauron in Mordor. It turns out you can't even beat one of the armies, mate. You're a bit crap, really. The elves charge, though, in a triangular formation. Obviously, if you armor a horse, the one area you don't want any protection is the bit which is going to take the spear. No, where you really want to arm it is along the horse's back to protect the horse from the soldier's arse. That's the most dangerous bit of a warhorse. The issue is the orcs bring Galadriel's cage there. Reveal that Galadriel's there with a knife at her throat. Oh no, it's Galadriel! Personally, I would have just add this as an added bonus. You can stab her through the cage on the way past. Yeah, I mean, you can obviously stop a horse in a perfect line like that. Definitely not gonna have people crashing into you at cavalry speed. No. Instead, he needs, I'm gonna have a little talk with evil. So they meet inside the orc camp with no weapons, just assuming that Adar is going to respect a truce. An orc. Innately evil since birth. Well, I suppose he was an elf. But he's still an orc now, an evil orc.
The ring you carry, show it to me.
Foolish act if I'd brought it here.
True. He did bring it here, though. He actually did. He's basically just calling himself an idiot. This is bad writing, but we know it is.
You are a courtier, more suited to wielding a scroll than a sword.
How do you know? How does an orc know about the personal life and career path of Elrond?
You've never seen me wield either.
You should have just kept charging Elrond.
I agree with both of them. Elrond's based and Galadriel should have died. This is the story we needed.
If she speaks again, cut out her tongue.
Okay, every man in this scene keeps winning. Can we do it anyway? That's what I want to know. I don't want to correct your anatomy lessons too much, but that's not her tongue, just so we're all aware. So they have a back and forth. Help me defeat Sauron, but you're just following Sauron's plan by laying siege to Eregion. And yes, the problem is the same as last week. Adar knows he's following Sauron's plan. He says that Eregion has fallen under the shadow, along with every elf in it. Not Celebrimbor!
It was Celebrimbor himself who welcomed Sauron in.
How do you know? The orcs were nowhere near Eregion at the time, even if they had spies. Which they don't, because elves would know what an orc looked like. Orcs don't have elven spies. And yet somehow they have a knowledge of history, presumably because they've read the script. Or just because they can't abstract, so every single character in the show has the same information. Adar says, though, that you can't save Eregion, but you can save Galadriel.
You have the beauty of your foremother, Melian of the Valar.
How do you know? Now he knows his history and heritage. And he's like, well, if you have even an ounce of her wisdom, you should know I'm correct.
Cannot defeat me in battle. I will outmaneuver you. My forces outfight yours.
I've got a bigger dick.
My children have endured cruelties you couldn't bear to hear spoken aloud.
Yeah, and they did them to each other. Why is the evil guy who's leading evil people going, I can't believe they've done some horrific things? Is they're just as likely to eat each other as anybody else, dude? How was that baby conceived? How was that baby conceived?
Are you prepared to spend their lives so freely?
Elrond, though, somehow knows all about Adar. I don't know how. Never met him before. Are you willing to send those lives so freely? It's like, yeah, they're orcs, dude. What orcs do?
Are they?
And the father's like, oh, but I don't want to die because I've got a little baby. And yes, everybody around me might be evil and just desperate for war, but I'm not. If he turns out to be Celeborn, I tell you, I'm going to wet myself laughing. As he says, though, the ring for Galadriel's life, Elrond. Elrond rocks around him and takes a pin off his shoulder. I will see you on the field, but first can I talk to Galadriel? And so he goes over to pass her the pin. And rather than just hugging her or grabbing her hand instead, Elrond really has to get something off his chest. Forgive me. I need to fondle your face. Like he's blind and trying to work out what she looks like. I ship him. I don't know why we needed the heroic music. I've got to... Finally, Elrond did something worthy of the heroic music. And as he backs off, he says, I'm gonna shag your daughter later. You think those orcs have been through some unspeakable things? You should see what I'm gonna do to her. Your daughter doesn't need to learn how to walk. I'm gonna make sure her life is spent horizontal. She's gonna be bedbound, but not because she's sick, because I am. So he uses that to pass her the pin. He doesn't even do it discreetly. Look, here it is. There's literally an orc staring at them as they're about to pass it. Look at that! This guy's just staring at it. They'll never realize, Galadriel. Galadriel, you taste exactly how I thought you would. Bitter. Don't buy your daughter any shoes, love. She's gonna spend her time on her knees. They say, though, that we can't beat the orcs. Oh, we can, because I know something they don't. Durin will appear at the first sunlight from the north.
Ride to them now.
That is the problem with his plan. Durin's 3 days away and then 3 days back, so he's supposed to do a 6 days journey in about 12 hours at maximum. Luckily, he has the spitting image of Sauron in his original form, so maybe he's got superpowers.
Meantime, I will ensure that Eregion's walls hold for one more night.
Or 6, if you actually want to stick to the size of the map. No, I'm sure dwarves are just really fast running across the ground with their little legs. During all of this, Durin's trying to raise an army with his inspirational speech. We see Galadriel pick her locks. The weird thing is, he starts with this.
Warriors of Khazad Dûm!
And then within about 30 seconds, you see these people. Ah, yes. The mighty warriors of Khazad-dûm. You go and fight 'em, love. I'll just throw cakes at 'em. They'll be so busy eating they won't be able to fight and you can run 'em through. I'm used to being run through. The orcs won't be, though.
Sauron the Stoneheart.
Get an image of Celebrimbor continuing his rings, but this time he's locked up. And for some reason doesn't take that as the hint that I probably shouldn't be making these. Now, I would ask why Celebrimbor has big, thick shackles just around his forge. But then again,
Secrets from our forebears. And all.
you know why. I got these from our dungeon, Celebrimbor.
Sauron the Stoneheart, who stole the 7 smithing secrets.
I also like that Jorin says he stole the 7 smithing secrets from us, one of which I'm assuming was alloys. What if we mix things, though? And we see the king head out of his throne room with an axe. They hope to stalk division between us with our greed. Look at this entire front line. The entire front line. F, 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 F. I'm pretty sure there's an F behind his hair. F, F here just off the screen. Another F, F. That entire front line of people are all the women of Khazad-dûm, which literally came under
Warriors of Khazad-dûm.
Oh, it's a mighty kingdom. No wonder it got defeated by a Balrog.
So all the world can see that dwarven loyalty.
I don't really know why the dwarves have loyalty to the elves, but here we are. It's like, loyalty is stronger and deeper and mightier than any armies.
Will you fight with our friends?
I just want him to go, nah. Just because he's been bending you over a stepladder doesn't mean that I'm gonna go and die for some city in a far-off land I've never been to and don't care about. The answer's no, Durin, all right?
Will you fight for Khazad-dûm?
They're not threatening Khazad-dûm, you silly twat. This is a Region. You've got your geography mixed up. And there's a mighty army outside that have listened to him as well, because he's got a massive gob. Where's the Region? I've only ever been down here. In general, never march an army to a place that you can't point to on a map. I think there's got to be a minimum requirement, surely. So we see the elves fight, and Elrond's horse doing work. I mean, I don't think it needed to be that flamboyant, but here we are. Now, the elves are a bit stupid and decide to charge the cavalry into a forest like idiots. Cavalry is for the open fields like you had before, you know, where you stop charging them. Now, over time, Elrond kills a lot of people, but then eventually, well, he just gets knocked off by a single orc with a hammer. Other horsemen get bogged down in the riverbed. I don't know why they were riding across a riverbed. And Elrond says, "Oh no, please don't. I can't believe you've killed my horse." I actually don't know why he killed his horse. Oh, sorry, yeah, it's because they're evil and not because they just want peace and loving families with everybody. Now, Elrond gets really bothered by this, and I don't really know why. He only rode a horse in episode 1 for a bit at the start away from Galadriel. It's like, I love that horse. It meant I didn't have to talk to Galadriel for weeks. Elrond has a lot of trouble defeating this orc. Which is weird considering he's just a basic orc who can even steal his helmet. Although he eventually beats him. Fires him at a Region. I mean, on the one hand, kind of based. On the other, you are launching rocks at your own city. The odds of that killing your own people is relatively high. Kind of funny, though, gotta admit. The issue there is we've got to have this scene with him and his horse. I really loved your horse that has never been in the pissing series. I think they're really going for a Witcher moment. The issue is, it wasn't earned at all. We're just supposed to care about it randomly. They probably watched The Witcher and were like, oh, look, when horses die, the audience gets involved. It's like, no. It's because it was his horse which had joined him on all the journeys. Elrond ran across the country for most of the time. You could have at least had him with a horse in those journeys and, like, showed him bonding with it. He's like, no, I forgot about you now. I mourned you for about as long as I rode you. Which is actually how most marriages work. That's why the most anyone's going to care about Galadriel's death is roughly 16 seconds. We have more fights on the wall and they actually start using ladders rather than trying to rip the stones out one by one. I really wish we'd seen more of this kind of stuff in the episode rather than Celebrimbor crying. And actually seen it evolve over time rather than cutting to it and being like, wait, how on earth did it get on the walls? They needed to get rid of it. This should have just had oil put on it and it die. I'm fed up with seeing this rip out stones. It's so pathetic. The fact that that hasn't been destroyed by people on the walls as last. You would have been better with traditional just ladders or those towers that the Romans had.
The wall is stronger than we thought.
Stronger than you thought? It required elves to be idiots for you to get as far as you did. But he says the elves have been faring better than you expected. They destroyed 5 trebuchets. Should we retreat? No, don't retreat.
Sauron must not escape. Bring down that wall at any cost.
Even your life, Mr. Father, who just wants to grill human flesh. Now, obviously, they're setting this guy up to eventually betray Adar, I think. Why they're like, oh, but he had to have a little baby because he's evil. So they say, but I thought you loved us and saw us as children. I love you too much to let you become Sauron's slaves. I really don't like that they're trying to say that in the Lord of the Rings, they're only evil because Sauron enslaved them. They're innately evil. They were born evil. They'll always be evil. As a species, they are determined to be evil. It's in their DNA. They as a people create their culture, and their culture is evil. They find, though, that Galadriel's escaped. For some reason, she left a pin here, just so we know who did it. And she decides that she's going to walk around about half the size of all the other orcs with her face showing. We could all see that's not an orc, right? You could at least put some, like, orc gore on your face or something. So she runs around with the ultimate disguise of looking at the floor, and let's be honest, covered from head to toe, eyes down. It's good to see Galadriel embracing civilized society. The issue, though, as she keeps showing her face and torchlight to everybody, looking at the pyres of the burning corpses, and she probably thinks they're trying to, like, cremate them or something. Like, no, they're cooking them for food, you silly bint. They're not evil. They're just eating people. The issue is, as you can see, she hasn't even hidden her hair under her cloak. Even as Adar comes over to mourn the people that have died, oh, I'm a little upset because I marched on a city I didn't need to march on and got my own people killed, and for some reason I'm supposed to be mourning, despite the fact that I didn't care enough to not do this. Oh, I'm so badly written. And Galadriel is, I can see the humanity in him because I'm a woman that's just obsessed with my own feelings rather than looking at things objectively and thinking he's evil. Why am I feeling sorry for evil? Oh, that's right. I've just realised. Am I the problem? Of course, orcs have seen her hair. Follow her down a dark tunnel rather than telling all the other orcs about them because of absolutely no reason whatsoever.
Look at that pretty hair.
Not so bad yourself, love. Arondir is here to save her life.
I am grateful for it.
Look, for once in your life, stay off your back. Arondir here is here to take on Adar, yet, well, you can't do that because then you'll die.
He has taken everything else from me.
Well, he doesn't have your nuts yet, but if you go in there, he'll definitely take them from you.
Arondir.
Seems to be her only thing. I'm just gonna come on to him.
There's a death of elven heroes this night. It would be a pity to lose another.
Plus, I'll show you my hidden tattoo if you don't. Back in Khazad-dûm, Durin is getting ready to march. Of course, there's always another problem, isn't there? The guy comes up, clearly injured, and he says the king came down with his axe and just started hacking his way through us like a hot knife through butter.
He's gonna dig, gonna loose that beast.
How do you know there's a beast there? How do you know digging in that spot will free it? Oh, that's just the start of the problems.
Disa, she sent me to find you. You have to recall the army.
Yes, Disa's here to cause more problems and get more people killed. She's already the reason why these rings were created in the first place, and every time she makes a decision, it's wrong. So you should definitely listen to her now. Just let Eregion burn, because your father just appeared in a tunnel that he owns himself.
You take that army to Eregion now, and Khazad-dûm might not be here when you return.
Nonsense. Khazad-dûm, despite being 3 days away, you can reach there in like 6 hours during the night time. Fight in the day, come back in the evening. What's going to happen? Are you telling me that the king is going to mine, make a hole to the Balrog, the Balrog's going to climb all the way up and wipe out the entire place in a day? There was an argument that could be made when you were like, well, we just want to compress all the time periods so that all these people exist in the same time. But you can't have a Balrog destroying the entire thing in a day. Sauron, though, still whining. Oh, when people see what's going to happen in all the peace, they'll realise the suffering was worth it. It's like suffering wasn't required for any of this, though. I still don't know why the army is here. If the army wasn't here, Celebrimbor would have been fine. You wouldn't need to force him to make the rings. He says, though, I don't like to treat these people like this. Like you've treated all the others.
Like Morgoth treated me.
Oh no, you see, I'm a victim. I'm a victim, and so that justifies me doing it to other people. Because everything is equal, there are no heroes or villains. And so we drag down the heroism and lift up the villains, because it's not their fault. It's not their decision. Society made them do it. They just had a rough childhood. That's why they turned into Satan. I hate the morality of this show.
Do you know what it is to be tortured at the hands of a god?
I know I don't care. I know that anything you did after that is still your responsibility, despite any meanie things that might have happened to you. Somebody said dirty words at me. Morgoth called me fat. And the rest of the scene is just them trying to pitch him as a victim, which is why he's got his crying face on. As if, oh no, I'm actually trying to do this because I'm the hero of the entire piece. I'm the hero of my own story. It's like, no, it isn't. He can see the things which are happening. He knows it's not required. You're not intelligent enough or good at writing enough to justify this story, and you haven't justified it.
For what he wished to destroy, I wished to perfect.
Now, there would be an argument for this if he essentially wanted to make a perfect paradise, which would require no one to have free will, and so everyone basically turns into automatons. That would allow you to have Sauron as the evil villain, which is also fulfilling his objective to make paradise for everybody. It would just be from looking on the inside out, you're like, yeah, they're in paradise, but they can't make any decisions, they don't have any lives, they're just robots. That's hell, not paradise. Wheel of Time did this message, but we've seen the outcome of Sauron, and it's just fire and brimstone. There is no paradise at the end, so it doesn't make sense him believing it. So he described what Morgoth did to him, how he would look forward to the pain, because it'd be like a test of wills to see who was mightier. Celebrimbor says, but you'd still choose to inflict that pain on me? No, you were the one that caused that pain.
All depends on the rings.
And so, by standing in my way, you left me no choice.
And since you forced me to torment you to bring him into being, I am but a victim of your obstinance.
I'm kind of surprised that Celebrimbor didn't just laugh in his face at this point.
And you, the true author of your own torment,
Truly are the great deceiver. You can deceive even yourself.
And they're basically just going for, oh, look, it's domestic violence. He's actually gaslighting and that no one will ever love you as much as me. Bang. That's all it is. And maybe this would have made a bit more sense if we'd seen Sauron rogering Celebrimbor senseless. Ah, shit. Celebrimbor, though, collects all the rings and finishes them in the fire. He has absolutely no reason to do this, by the way. He could have destroyed them, or not finished them, not made them, whatever. Now, we see the elven soldiers' plan. They have, like, bags of fuel. They yeet them off into space and then fire a flaming arrow at it so that we rain a bit of fire down onto the soldiers. And I'm just thinking, why did you not do that on the siege weaponry? The one single thing that is pulling the stones out of your wall. Why didn't you use one of the bags on that, eh? It's made of wood. We're really thick and stupid because we're immortal, and we spread out our IQ over our entire lifespan. We get like one every century. It was nice of that guy to stand in the right spot so he could get stabbed in the chest. But obviously, we've got Warrior Galadriel. I mean, sorry. It's not Galadriel, is it? No. They all look the same to me. One nonsensical girl boss looks much like the rest. Celebrimbor, though, has finished the rings. Oh, they're not hot though, even though they've just been in fire. Isn't this weird? Now, he collects them all in a bag because his plan isn't to give them to Sauron. And if you're not going to give them to Sauron, why have you made them in the pissing first place? The only reason to make them was to give them to Sauron so he'd stop the sack of Eregion. So you're not even planning to do that. So just don't make them then. You idiot. He knows these are made with Sauron's blood. He knows they're evil rings. So he's like, oh, gonna make them anyway. So he thinks that hammering one of his fun-time manacles will work. It doesn't. And in the end realizes, I'm gonna have to cut off my thumb in order to get my hand out of this thing. Let's face it, it's not like you're gonna need it in the future anyway, is it? Sauron's not gonna let that thing near him anymore.
Whose will is the mightier?
Sauron's. He just told you to make some evil rings that'll destroy the world, and you were like, okay, I'll do it. Definitely Sauron's. Get what you deserve. I would have just done it on something that's further south myself. With that, though, he walks out of the tower again, and Iluvatar is still pissed. I mean, look how far he gets. Everything hits him immediately. Wait, Celebrimbor getting what he deserves. So the soldiers surround him and go, oh, he really has gone mad. We're going to have to keep you in the tower so you're not a danger to yourself. I'm like, hang on. He keeps saying he's being locked in the tower and now you're going to lock him in the tower. He's lost his thumb to escape the tower and you're like, oh, it's a danger. Let's put him back in the place he cut his own thumb off. No place will be safer for you than surrounded by dangerous tools. Mind you, he is already surrounded by tools, isn't he, really? I mean, look at him. Waste of space.
By order of Anatar,
Annatar,
Lord of Eregion.
It's stupid to call him Lord of Eregion. I don't know why they flipped. They shouldn't have flipped. This is all really stupid. At that moment, though, Galadriel turns up. You shall release him.
But the Lord of Eregion orders.
This is the Lord of Eregion.
And for some reason, the soldiers kind of resist this, which is weird, considering they're used to obeying women who are about 4'9". They've been doing it with Modania for weeks. I don't know why they have a problem with her. So he fills her in on what happens and says, I made 9 rings. They're to enslave the men like he enslaved. And like, no, no, you did it all voluntarily. At one point, he even told you to stop making rings, and you're like, no, I've got to continue. This is all your fault, voluntarily, without interference. He was just happened to be there. Now, at no point does he tell her that these rings are evil, they have an evil influence on people, the dwarven rings are evil, and these have Sauron's blood in them, so destroy them. These things are never said. I'm blinding myself to what he was because I wanted what he offered. So did I. What did you want, Galadriel? I wanted his dick. I wanted him to treat me like one of those orc ladies.
Harry, the old dwarven tunnel.
But Galadriel tells him, I came in through a secret tunnel. We can get you out of here along with everyone else. We can go. He's like, no, I will delay, Sauron. You take the rings and as many people as you can out of that tunnel.
What has happened? He will come for the rings.
I will ensure it is sometime.
This doesn't make any sense. This is the guy that goes, I'll stay and delay him, and then just immediately dies and doesn't save him any time.
Take the rings. Save anyone in the city you can.
Never tells her the rings are evil with Sauron's blood in them. Seems like a piece of a major information, dude.
I won't let you face him alone.
I built this city.
On rock and roll. His soldiers, though, for some reason, have just entirely changed their minds because a little girl came up to them and gone, but Celebrimbor's in charge. That was enough to snap them out of Sauron's control for some reason. And so they go, no, he won't be alone. We will be with him.
I'm sorry. I brought him here.
I'm pregnant with his child. It is literally just a pity party between the two of them before Celebrimbor goes off to die for absolutely no reason. Everyone in this scene is an idiot. Everyone in this city is an idiot. So Celebrimbor suddenly turns philosopher. It's not strength that defeats darkness. The elves must all remember it is light, and as long as light... Oh, God. It's like faux poetry, and I don't really care because he's evil. He's done evil. He's created evil. And why am I supposed to feel sorry for him? So Galadriel is carrying with her evil rings. And obviously, there's only one place she can really carry them. Just gonna stick him in my chest. Oh, they'll be nice and snug and safe in there, won't they? You know, evil, close to my heart, just where I want it. Now, Elrond has spotted the siege machine, and for some reason doesn't go, why's no one poured some fire on it? Instead, he realizes the truth. There's only one thing that can defeat that siege weapon. A strong, powerful, independent, randomly foreign elf. It's like, just one. Just one. Genetics hold no sway over the elves.
Our enemy will not breach that wall. A single arrow from you may yet turn the tide.
Only you can save us. We need your girl boss powers. We are just mere men, but you have transcended the dangly bit.
How many torch arrows do you have left?
Enough to do my part.
I think that means one. I like the fact that she's got torch arrows. No one on the wall have them. No. None of them want to shoot it at the siege machine, which is directly next to them. They're like, no, some random woman will appear from the other side, hack her way through the army, and she'll do it. I can't be bothered to lean.
Need is a clear line of sight.
Follow me.
Oh, you know where you could have got a clear line of sight? On the wall where Galadriel was. So Elrond's going through, hacking a path through the army for her, and she's following him, also doing kung fu fighting moves. Thinking as though, just as he gets line of sight on it,
I don't heed.
take the shots, Galadriel. I mean, I'm sorry. You all look the same to me. Don't you think you overdid it a little bit? Look. The first one, okay, she got hit by a random arrow. My problem comes with everything else. Literally turns into a pincushion within an instant from 360 degrees. How on earth do all these people have line of sight on her? How are these orc archers so good? At this point, I'm kind of thinking it must be elves, right? Must be elves on the wall shooting her. But no, look at me, Elrond. I've got one single arrow in my quiver. It's like fate or terrible script writing. There's no need to give her one arrow when you've already shot her through with like 10 different arrows killing her. She's gonna die anyway. She could have had spares. No, we must make it completely nonsensical. And so she uses her estrogen powers. Don't worry, Elrond. Luckily, I've got this fire, the perfect arm's reach away from me, just as I get shot with arrows and can't move. That was lucky. Now, I know the music is like, da, 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 really heroic, but in my mind, all I heard was... Everybody just stops fighting to watch the arrow fly through the sky. She got it in the... I don't know. I mean, it exploded, so you'd be like, fuel? It's a wooden machine. It doesn't need fuel. Why has it got explosives attached to it? Nobody knows. Don't ask questions. It'll be fine. And then, when she's like, yeah, I've done my heroic moment, just to take the piss one more time. Honestly, I don't know why the wooden machine is exploding, but here we are. Charge! Oh yeah, we've just got to shoot her in the face again. You can't let her go away with that. She's too strong and independent. Honestly, that arrow came from the wall. I can only assume that elves are shooting her. They're like, oh, piss off, we've had enough of you. We've seen your tart before. They all look the same to me. Adar, though, is realizing that the tide is turning against him, so he's like, send him in.
He will kill our own kind.
I mean, that's what you've been doing. You literally marched on a city to die. I don't know why you're surprised that you're going to die. Does it matter if the elves kill you or someone from Breaking Bad? And so out comes the bald guy. Oh no! Am I supposed to fight that? Up in the tower, Sauron's going around looking for rings in random boxes before Celebrimbor re-arrives for absolutely no reason whatsoever.
You shall not find them here.
Why are you telling him? If you wanted to delay him the most, you'd be like, I've got secret stashes all over this room. There is no way you're going to find where I've hidden them.
And you are going to bring them to me?
That chance, and there's absolutely nothing you can stick in me that's going to change my mind.
Your hand will never touch another ring again.
Now, for some reason, Celebrimbor thinks that a couple of soldiers can defeat Sauron. I don't know, maybe he watched the start of Series 2 or something and just got the wrong idea. Because they circle him, and he's just like, well, you know, haven't you realised by now, Celebrimbor, everybody's under my control. And so, as he turns his hands, the swords turn. This is pathetic. You were supposed to give people illusions that convince them to do what you wanted, and now you're just brute force controlling them. If you could do that, why didn't you just get Celebrimbor to do it, rather than convincing him all the time? And now you've given Sauron this power, you will cause trouble for yourself every time he doesn't use this. Anyone that trusts him is just like, oh, just get him to, you puppet him then. It'd be easy. There is no way you're going to stick to this power. You've made him, and you made him way too powerful. So Sauron easily wipes out everyone else, and you're like, well, why didn't he just do that before? Why, when Adar was crowning him, did he just not take direct control of him so he didn't die? Who knows?
You will give me the 9
inches. I demand it, Celebrimbor. Why do you think I've put a bow in my hair? So dainty. Now the troll marches across, and he's just like picking people up, throwing them through people, squashing others. It is quite funny. Arondir is firing his little toothpicks at him. Now, admittedly, Arondir does at least look more professional with a bow than the other elves. But that's more because they should look more like Arondir, not the other way around. They should have put the same work in Arondir did. It is funny when he has two people, sets them on fire, and then just yeets them into other people. Or when he's getting shot by all the arrows, and so he just grabs a couple of orcs, and all the elves just keep shooting the orcs anyway. That doesn't matter what we kill. Adar, absolutely no problem with his children dying. It's almost like you wrote a character into a corner and I had no idea how on earth you could make him logically follow on from that. So you just didn't bother. Meanwhile, they're like, oh, but the orc who just wants peace and her father is actually upset because his people are dying. Definitely not going to betray Adar later, is he? Would have been funny if that was how Arondir died, you've got to admit. Except the troll notices Elrond. Elrond's sword is so crap, it can't actually cut through a rope. This episode is very much like a carry-on film, I've got to be honest. There's bodies and people flying all over the place. Thing is, though, the rope snaps, injures the troll in the stomach. This allows the one person who can save the day to ride in, and for some reason he hasn't been doing anything for the rest of the episode. He actually dies like Achilles with his tendons being snapped.
Go back to your hill and be buried.
It's Gilgalad Daddy.
He does slay in a certain way.
He does.
He does slay.
Arondir, though, dives on him. Do you remember this from the movies? Yeah, I don't know why. The weight of a single elf is enough to knock a troll on the floor. He's been putting on weight recently, eating a sealder. But now he's on the floor, it's easy for everybody. He pins down his arms and everyone rushes in and starts stabbing him with knives. In comes Gilgadaddy for the final blow, which is something that Gilgadaddy is especially proficient at.
Should not be here.
What do you mean? He's been here since the start of the battle. Before you charged, he was literally standing next to you.
King's place is wherever the need is greatest.
Gilgalad Daddy. What about the king's army? Because you pissed that off to Mordor because a woman told you to. They think it's all over though. There's barely few elves left, except there's loads of orcs, and Adar is doing his final push. So the rest of the orcs charge. All except the dad who just wants to grill human flesh on his own for his baby. The others though, they're like, yeah, war, let's go to war, yeah. Oh, look, I'm just seasoning these left thighs of an elf. Oh no, war, yeah, I can kill you, yeah, woo! We're not evil though. But as the sun appears and Elrond is expecting a mighty army, nothing arrives.
The dwarves are coming!
They generally are. That's how they multiply, like rabbits. Except there's nothing in the north, except a single rider with arrows in him that tell them Durin turned his army around.
It must be some mistake. Durin will come.
He's very proficient at it at this point. And so, as an unbeatable army marches on them, rather than retreat into the fortress so they can use the walls as defenses, Gilgadaddy has an entirely different idea.
Carolira!
He trusts Elrond, who is convinced that Durin definitely will finish.
Durin will come.
He sure will, fella. I have faith you can do it for him. The two sides charge, leaving Elrond in the muck, and you can see how few of them are left.
Durin will come. Durin will come.
He always has before. I see no reason he can't now. So we see High King Gilgadaddy go round and just spin slash everybody. Very flowery with his fighting. But Arondir only has one target, Adar. Now, for some reason, despite having dual daggers, he decides to drop them to pull out his bow. And just as he's about to shoot Adar in the face, an orc knocks him over and he misses. So he spin kicks him, doesn't get his daggers, and so he just literally gets stabbed with his own arrow that I'm assuming Adar caught, as I don't know how else it happened. He jabs him back with his own arrow, but if you had a sword, you could cut his head off or something. Adar's got a sword. Now Arondir feels how Durin's going to feel when Elrond meets him again, and that seems to be the end of Arondir. The guy was barely in the series as it was. No wonder he was so upset on the red carpet. Well, you know, sometimes we just get parked, and it doesn't mean it doesn't resonate through the series, even though they have no scenes. I did tell that Mordor wench to shut up, though, didn't I? That was cool, as he bleeds out on the floor. Meanwhile, the orcs are just pulling rocks out of the wall by hand now, because nobody on the wall is shooting them, and so they breach the city. Elrond gets to watch the rest of his army die, and decides to do absolutely nothing about it. Just sitting there like a lonely arse. If only I got to bang Galadriel one more time. Like Starship Troopers. It's okay, Galadriel, because I got to have you. Of course, because Galadriel basically told Adar her entire plan, he knows where the ring is. And so despite Elrond trying to stab him, he just grabs his wrist and turns it over because he has super strength, apparently. Grabs him by the throat, before yeeting him to the ground, don't know why he didn't kill him to be honest, and takes his ring. Which, let's face it, it's not the first time a malformed elf has taken Elrond's ring. Seems like Galadriel's been destroying it for quite a while. And we have reached peak farce with this, where it's kind of what happened with Wheel of Time. It's just funny now. Everyone's an idiot. All the plans are stupid. Nothing makes sense. Sauron's supposed to be a trickster god when it turns out, oh, I could have just controlled you all this time. But instead, I just decided to talk to you and then tell you about how actually everything was your fault. And I just wanted paradise despite the fact that everything burns around me. Nothing makes sense, but they're desperately trying for depth that they don't know how to provide, because their fundamental value is equality, where good and evil are the same. Everything is grey because nothing has any kind of hierarchy to it. And without that hierarchy, you have no depth. Everything's the same. It's equal and shallow. And that's what the show is. And it can't be anything else, because the people behind it don't have anything else to them. Their worldview isn't any more complex. And so you end up with a show where you can pick it apart, like the elves don't have any kind of fighting skill, and it shows. They can't even match what happened in movies decades ago. You can laugh as all the innuendos is just everybody shipping each other, like getting with somebody's mother whose daughter you're going to marry in the future. And you have to have stupid coincidences like, why doesn't Adar stab Elrond even though he's got him there? Well, can't, because he's got to appear in the later books. And so the plot doesn't make sense, because it was never meant to. Things happen this way because they have to happen this way. And the writers didn't create characters that would have inevitably led to this situation. And so they end up acting out of character because the events go against their character. This is how Adar can care about his babies, but also send them to war for no reason. And I remember the original reviews that said this was the best episode, but having seen all the ones up to that point, that's only true if you forget the other six, which admittedly I can fully understand if people did. But if you are tracking the story, the motivations and the personalities of the character, this entire episode was nonsense. And people miss out obvious information just because they think it'll cause more drama. Like Galadriel not telling Celebrimbor Halbrand is Sauron, or Celebrimbor Celebrimbor not telling Galadriel that those 9 rings are evil, they need to be destroyed because they've got Sauron's blood in them, or him making them because Sauron asked him to, for no reason whatsoever. The only reason to make them would be to give them to Sauron to save the city, but he had no intention of giving them to him. And it's that complete lackadaisical approach to their own plot which really underpins the entire thing not being believable, because it matters. The makeup of the cast matters. Who the elves are matter. Their personalities matter, not in Rings of Power. But those are just my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know down in the comments below. Like the video if you liked the video. Subscribe. More videos like this in the future, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.